I misplaced my seals there for a second, so I had to go get them, so I turned off the camera. I wanted to do it in one shot so you can actually see how long it actually takes. Well, once you have the motor out anyways, that's where the biggest part is. But this is the oil seal. And there's the part number. 3007431. And I usually lube my seals up when I install them. So I take a little, I guess this is French, white lithium grease. Spray it on the outside and on the inside. Make sure you spray grease on that sealing surface. And I just take my fingers and rub it around. Now you can take the seal and push it in. And sometimes it helps if you you take a socket. Try and find a socket that fits to the outside fairly close, and a 9/16 socket fits pretty darn close and helps you press the seal in. I just gotta get an extension and hammer. And once you have it seated all the way, you can find your snap ring. And you can go and install it again. And once you have your snap ring seated, it's good to see if it's seated all the way, just to take the one snap ring off your pliers and see if you can spin it. If you can spin it, that means you've seated it, and if it doesn't fall out, that means it's good. So now that you have your oil seal pushed in all the way and the snap ring installed back in, you can go ahead and start with the mechanical water seal. And the mechanical water seal is 3007180, and it has the mechanical seal with the spring like this, the metal sealing disc, and then the ceramic disc that goes in your impeller. And it's easy to remove from the impeller. And that's all the sealing disc is. There's a tiny little lip that holds it into the impeller. But then again, a little brake clean. Just to make sure there's clean, no dirt, debris. Wipe it out with the rag. And you can go ahead and open up your seal. And install it into the impeller. And that's basically all you have to do for the impeller. You can put it off to the side so you don't lose it. And this is the part where Arcticat wants you to buy their special tool to install this seal. All you need is a socket that fits around this rubber seal and fits on the metal collar. And I'll just go grab the socket. And I found that a 7/8 socket fits around the rubber and will hit the collar on the steel. And the hardest part for this is to get it started straight. And once you have it started straight, it'll go in by itself. But you just have to make sure it's started straight. And there you go. Now that seal's in, and if there is any kind of crud, dirt on that socket, you can just go ahead and wipe it off and wipe everything out from inside the impeller housing. After you're done that, spin your motor back around. Take your rag, wipe off the sealing surface of the oil pump, clean everything up. Take your water pump shaft, clean it up as well. And then take a little lithium grease, spray it on the shaft, but try not to get any in the threads, because when you put your dab of Loctite on, you want it to seal and hold that water pump bolt in. And with that, try and get this oil pump out of the way again. You can install the shaft, and sometimes it's a tight fit. And don't forget to spin it once it's in. Make sure it meshes with the gears on your crankshaft. That thrust washer goes in between the spacer and the oil shaft, water pump shaft. So I just like to clean my stuff up before I install it. Make sure everything's working good, clean. And with it clean, you can take a little lithium grease, spray it on the actual adapter itself, so that way when you put your thrust washer on, that grease is going to hold that washer on. And then you can install it after you install a little bit of grease, lithium grease, onto the washer itself. And it just goes and slides on. Reinstall your oil pump. And make sure you try and line up the keyway from the oil pump onto the shaft itself, because you can see on the oil pump there is a notch on the shaft, the gear basically that drives it. You can hand start the cap screws that hold on your oil pump. And then I like to loosely tighten them all the way. Just so I know that everything is going to be put together right. Make sure your oil pump's not binding. And then I take one of them off at a time and put a dab of Loctite. Not too much. Less is more. I use red Loctite on everything just because red Loctite isn't like what it used to be. It's not permanent. Permanent anymore. Just one little drop. The only thing left to do that I did not do was install this into the oil pump, into the bottom of the crankcase. And that goes down here. That's an 8mm. So now you have your oil pump back installed. You can put the motor back so you can see the water pump. And as you can see on the water pump, there is some lithium grease. So you'll just want to wipe off your lithium grease so that when you install your shaft, the shaft can stay on nice and snug. And you'll want to lube up that ceramic disc and the little rubber piece. But you don't need too much like I did. So just wipe off any excess. And there is a flat edged part where you have to line up when you install it again, then you can just slide it back on. Again, when you're installing the impeller retaining bolt, one dab of Loctite, and then you can install and tighten up the bolt. Now you can find your impeller cover, reinstall with the hose up. And I like to do the same kind of process with these. I like to install them just like a car tire. Just watch this installing bolts. I like to do that dry run just so that I know I'm not going to run into any problems. For when I'm actually final installing them with the Loctite. Just a tiny little dab. Don't need much. Not too much. And all you have left to do is finish installing your hoses. And there you go. That's how you change and install and remove a Arctic Cat water pump shaft seal.